Welcome to the LORNA experience. This is the podcast dedicated to aspiring entrepreneurs and digital marketers who can relate. At the LORNA experience, we really want to make the show as relatable as possible, and also we have a value system here, which is we keep on learning no matter what, stay humble and learn, and we keep optimizing our time, our productivity, our flow. We keep resilient in what we do, nurturing concepts and accepting where we are. Now, as you can see, different layout. This is a podcast that's going to be in different co-working spaces. At the moment, I'm back in my HQ, Cardiff, the best place. And it's honestly, this Cardiff is thriving right now. If you're an entrepreneur and digital marketer, definitely there is loads of opportunity, development and growth, especially as well in the just technology and creative sector, and it's buzzing here. I can't wait to share with you. So to be honest with you, I really wanted to wait to record this episode too. I thought I wanted a bit more research, but there's so much going on that I cannot not hit record. That's the whole point, is that I want to, this podcast will be evolving. Every episode there will be an evolution, of course. That's how it works. But I have many ideas of guest speakers that I want to bring in to talk about their journey or different topics. And there's also going to be different series co-created with I think it's inspiring, relatable individuals. And then obviously myself, I'll be solo hosting, and that's really to showcase my journey as an entrepreneur and digital marketer and what I'm doing to stay relevant, really, and just to keep thriving. So yeah, if you want to support this podcast, there is a Patreon, just £3 a month. My aim is to build a community of like-minded individuals, of course, and it just helps bring back into this podcast. And at the moment, this podcast can be listened to every Sunday. We have an episode launch on YouTube, and every Monday on Spotify. So as you can imagine, episode 1, I call it the LORNA Club. And this brings me to the point of my big rebrand that's happened. Okay, so I just wanted to really dive deep into how have I been LORNAfying myself. And that's the acronym. So the acronym is really L is for learn, O is for optimize, R is for resilience, N is for nurture, A is accept, into learning and optimizing these last few weeks. And when I recorded the first episode, I really wanted to record it. I had this really big ask to just record it. It was very impulsive, intuitive. I can't explain it. Something when you just need to do something, you just need to do it. And I just now, well, having all these conversations that I've been having recently has shown me how much I needed to start the podcast way back when. When I started the podcast, I was kind of undecided as to what to do, the LORNA Club, the LORNA experience. And then my previous name for my business was Kif Media Hub, but because I've got a content channel, I'm a content creator for Miss Kif, that brand, Kif defines creativity and it defines music in my brand status. And I was like, wait a second here, I've got Tasha J. Cole is me as an independent businesswoman, Savvy Kifner. And then I've also got the LORNA Club, which was supposed to be the podcast. And I'm like, and then I got Kif Media Hub. It just makes no sense. So I said, no, I've got to rebrand, which it makes complete sense. So when I was looking at my business plan for LORNA Media, I was like, actually, this becomes my brand values, because it's true. I literally living proof every day that I'm committed to my brand's value, which is I'm always learning, I'm always optimizing, I'm always resilient in what I do. I'm always nurturing my concepts, and I have to stay humble and accept where I am, because like you saw what the quality of the last video is you just need to get on with what you have so that you can keep moving forward. It doesn't matter about having the highest tech. I am so lucky that I am blessed with this co-working space. So shout out to the Startup Studio, USW. I'm a USW graduate, so I am well lucky to have this opportunity to record here right now, and it's just kind of still aesthetically pleasing, isn't it? We got that lovely brand labels here with the Rode mic, and this audio is pretty decent too. And I actually recorded the previous episode on just my portable Zoom H4n, which I invested in when I did my previous degree, which was a BA in audio production. Anyway, sidetracking back to the present moment. So yes, eventually I thought to myself, right, I need to be more clear. What am I going to do? So I decided to call it LORNA Media. We are a digital transformation consultancy and learning platform to help you communicate your value to your audiences, because I very much have the LORNA, the consultancy, which is very much focused on market research, business model, value proposition analysis, a learning platform, which is I have ideal clients that come to me who are small business owners and founders that want to learn themselves, and I love providing that opportunity and inspiration so that you can really become more independent in your workflow. And it does optimize your time and also you financially in the beginning, because when you are starting out, you want to reduce your costs as much as possible. I'm really happy with that. And then from the LORNA Media, we've also got the LORNA Club, which is our learning platform really, that will develop with loads of different workshops and learning tools. The LORNA Club, I currently have a Facebook group called the LORNA Club, and you can join that for free. And that's just at the moment I've got a 6-week on fast track to content creation challenge going on there, which is absolutely free. So it's just to help prompt you in the right direction. And then from that, we've got the LORNA Experience podcast, which is just really carrying on the conversation, where we can just have these conversations of more relatable topics, because no one teaches you how to be an entrepreneur or a digital marketer. They give you the knowledge and then they say, there you go, make millions. And you usually just fail a lot. That's how you become an entrepreneur, be an expert in failing. And the reason why I wanted to combine this both is because I really feel that kind of marketing and entrepreneurship really goes hand in hand at the moment. So yes, I feel so much better for that rebrand. However, now I've got some people calling me Lorna, which is not the case. So I need to make that very clear. Like, my name is Tasha, my mum's name is Lorna, and that's who I've named my business after. So yeah, we were still working on that, right? I've been focusing on the rebrand, and it takes so much time. When you're doing branding, really, you want to make sure that you stick to the brand name in the beginning, because changing everything later, don't do it. Don't be a me. I am impulsive, which means that I don't tend to always say things through a lot, so I'll end up doing more work at the end of the day. However, I'm trying to be better. Okay, this is why I've got all this accountability now. Right, so something that I've been focusing on is like branding, and like in my master's in strategic and digital marketing course, I did a brand challenge with 2 of my amazing peers, which was Myra and Paula, and we won our brand challenge with Glyce. I basically decided to relook at that module that we did, and I started to treat my business as it. And I am so excited because I've put together like a whole brand package of LORNA media, which is going to develop. Like I got my typography on there, and I've got like a whole presentation. I'm still working on it, to be honest, but this is just accountability. So if I get when I grow, I've got all of this already set up. So when I get employees, I can then go as a welcome pack. This is my brand. These are the guidelines. This is what we do. This is what we're working on. And for me, that just makes me feel so much more in control of my brand. Sometimes your brand communication is not right. So this is why I started my brand. I was like, right, I need to really focus on what my brand is. What am I doing? How am I communicating it? And because I landed up pitching for funding and I failed, but that's a whole nother story. We'll go into a funding episode in the next one. Well, in a future episode we'll focus on funding. For now, I was getting freelancer work when people are like, oh, your social media, and I'm like, I'm not like I'm happy to teach you how to use those social media tool, but I am not a fan of managing social media, just because I have so many social media brands that I'm currently doing for myself. I have LORNA Media, I've got LORNA Experience Podcast, I got Miss Kiff, I have my Kiff Camp Out Retreats, which is my wellness retreats for business owners, which is great. You should check it out. And I've also got Tasha J. Cole, because I've launched all these separate brands because I do want, like, everything has a purpose. So for me to manage another social media brand, it just doesn't speak to my why. For me, I'd rather look at developing, like, for me, I prefer to use my analytical mindset, and that's what LORNA Media is that I will help teach you how to use the tools on your social media and give you the strategies and tips that I've learned. However, what I do best is look at your business and be able to go, right, this is your value, this is how you communicate, this is what I would do. How do you optimize your time? How do you optimize your productivity? I love that. And you should always stick to what you love. So for me, I was getting loads of, I've only got one social media brand that I take care of now, which is absolutely fine because it's still in line with my why, which is entrepreneurs, which is the startup studio, which is awesome. I love having that one client, okay? That's one client I don't mind, and the rest is me, because I fill up so much of my time. But I love researching as well. So I wanted to track more of that type of client. So I wasn't getting when you start attracting the wrong type of work, and it takes away, freelancer life takes away from your actual business life, you've got a problem. So I landed up going away, thinking, and then I found this co-working space, Office Tribe, in Tunbridge Wells. So amazing. I got the energy, I got the creative downloads, and that's when the LORNA experience came up, where it was the LORNA Club. But obviously the LORNA Club is now the Learning Hub, and the LORNA Experience is the podcast. So that's how that all came around. So what I would say is, if you're stuck in between freelance and business life, and for me, business life is much more enjoyable than freelancer life, because I get to focus on what I love rather than what I'm still kind of working for other people. Being in business, you're solving a problem for others, and I can be a little bit more creative, I can be a little bit more productive. Like, I've literally been batch recording content since 10 o'clock this morning and I've stayed here in the co-working space to about 12:30 last night. Not good for my health, but for creativity and workflow, yay. And I love that. I love when I get into this because I am a content creator by heart. Like, honestly, I love being in front of camera. I love to create content in that way. I've always wanted to be a presenter. I think when I grew up in South Africa, I was watching MTV. I always thought I'd be the presenter of TRL. And now I'm trying to head for like a TED Talk vibe. So, that's why I decided to start this podcast. Is like, I love to present. We had a modeling show when we were in school, and I wasn't chosen as a model, but I was chosen as the host, which is fantastic. I love being a host. I'm a very curious person, and therefore podcasting is just another great way for me to really do what I love. I think if you think about Stephen Bartlett as well, he says, this is what I love to do. When he talks about the Diary of the CEO, he goes, this is what I love. And I totally get it. And, loads of people go, oh, everybody's jumping on a podcast. Trust me, just do what you love and your audience will resonate, obviously, with strategy as well. One thing I realized was that I love showing tutorials. I love doing tutorials as all. And also I love the journey of a business. So if I'm teaching others in my position on how to grow, what great way to show them behind the scenes of how I work on my productive flow, to show them this is what I do and how we can learn from each other, right? And this is the reality of it. It is a grind. It is a startup. It is the beginning. There is a lot of work. But accountability, whatever I do within my content, I like to keep myself accountable. So the idea is branding is where we start, right? This is the goal. And you can watch this video. I will link this in the show notes. But I wanted to show that I'm going to start communicating my brand online. How can I make this an optimized way of communicating my services? Because this is a great way to test as well, is that when it comes back around in a few months, am I communicating my brand correctly? So number one for me to be, I've got the rebrand now, which is fantastic. Number two is what have I done in-house to make sure that I'm reaching my brand communication effectively. So I've got my brand guidelines now. I've got my 3-month, my Q4 plan of my brand communication. And I've also started now having a social media strategy on how to communicate my brand. And knowing what your brand does and who you work with, this is a great way now for me to have strategic partnerships as well. I am very proud of myself. Branding takes quite a bit of time, and sometimes you can forget about it, but if you just spend time and just do that, so like all my social media now is specifically branded for this, and especially with these colors as well, everything is to that standard, and I'm just really, really excited for it. That's what I've been working on. That's what I've been focusing on. And then the second part is I've been focusing on research and development, which is really exciting, to be honest. So I've come back, I've got more focus, I've got more, I feel a lot more analytical and focused, and I feel like I've definitely leveled up. I feel like the first year, the conversations that I've been having this week has been really great. So I came back on Tuesday and it's just been flow. My schedule this week has been insane. I had a one-to-one with one of my co-workers, Rob, founder of Fabled. Shout out to you. And actually would love to get him on this podcast show as well, to talk about this topic. But we were talking about, actually, we've been a year in this co-working space, and it made me reflect about the year, what this year has been like. So we'll talk about that more in another episode, but I just wanted to quickly give you a little bit of insight that it's been a year, and the first year was me transitioning into full-time self-employment, me learning to overcome imposter syndrome, which I'm still learning. I don't think it ever goes away, to be honest. But I think because I failed so much in my first year, it made me so insecure to not fail again in terms of my brand reputation. Well, because I was going through last year, my first year being in this co-working space, I was going through a lot of personal things, like my mum passing away and me converting a van whilst living in it, plus finishing my dissertation, went from part-time to full-time self-employment, and it just radical change everywhere, where I was a hot mess. And I feel like coming into this year 2 in the studio, I'm like, thank goodness all of that is gone out of my life. But now I'm like, right, I want to focus. And this is where that nurturing aspect comes to business. This is why we in the studio, right? This is incubation. You're nurturing concepts. You're nurturing failing to test products, see what works, what doesn't work, what's needed, what's not. What is the marketing positioning? What is Cardiff's marketing positioning and what I'm doing? So my first year, I got to see, right, there's so many cohorts happening. Where do I sit? Where do I sit with my brand positioning, right? This leads on very well. Is I've listened to a podcast with Think Media. Check that out. It's so good. That's what I've been focusing a lot of my time on as well. Like, what can I do in my free time that's helping educate and inspire my workflow? So this podcast, especially when I'm driving in the van, podcasts are the best. Sometimes music can get a bit too much, so I'm just like, no, podcast. So Think Media, great podcast. They do loads of video, YouTube rankings, and it's founded by Sean Cannell, amazing guy. I've been following him since 2015, so just love him. And he basically said about marketing, your brand positioning in the YouTube space. So if you look at it, who's doing what you're doing, right? If someone introduces you, like for me, people introduce me here, they say social media, and I'm kind of like, oh, that's not good. Because if I'm introduced to social media, what social media space do I own in this context of Cardiff as a demographic, right? I am just an independent consultant. There is other agencies like WCS agency that is bigger brands. There is Cowshed, again, bigger organizations. But individual, like smaller social media brands, which is Elite Studios Social, shout out to them. They are absolutely crushing it. Holly and Alex, shout out to you both. They have just completely, like, I'm loving their content. Go check them out on Instagram. And they were also in my masters as well, which is just awesome. It's just great to see women thrive, and people in your space thrive. So it's about, like, where do you position yourself in that market, and in the YouTube space as well. So you've got, like, in my space particularly, I've got Ali, I've got Sean Cannell, I've got Kim Hernandez, and it's like, where do I position yourself? So usually you want to position yourself first. So you want to dominate the space. But if you can't dominate the space, how can you be second, right? How can you come in with a new unique positioning? And he framed it really well. So if I look at my positioning here is what I want to change in terms of, like, not social media now, but entrepreneurship and development is with cohorts, is like, I want to work with cohorts to help facilitate workshops, but I also so co-working spaces will be my partners, right? And I want to add value to that space. So for me, it's about finding the gap in the market where I can add value, because for me, I'm very value based in my approach to business. I don't like to compete. I like to collaborate, and it's always enhancing, because that's really what creates society for me, is that value based. I'm very, 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 very value based. So my positioning now is about how can I add value to an ecosystem where they're pumping out loads of cohorts of entrepreneurs and development, but what does that sustainable growth look like, and how can I help, right? So for me, it's now research and development. So I am busy researching, interviewing, doing beta testing, and it excites me, because for me, the best way to market research is face-to-face market research or hosting little focus groups. Getting common themes, that's what's important. And it just shows it becomes a lot more. It's kind of the opposite to digital transformation, where you're integrating technology in that way, which there is a lot of now. AI is just insane. It's like everywhere. But also the part of digital transformation is honoring traditional concepts. And this is where marketing comes back to it, is that tradition of face-to-face communication. So yeah, that is kind of what I've been really nurturing, I would say, and learning and optimizing for my business right now. And I'm also staying humble, because I know I'm in that same position of development, right? However, I've always had a gut feeling to my business, and I'm here for the long haul. Therefore, for me, the journey, if I can perfect the journey and I take my time, I learn and fail and share it with you, I'm doing exactly what I was meant to do. I have a section now called Staying Relevant in Marketing and Business. And I really like this section, because if you do listen to the Staying Relevant podcast with Sam Thompson and Pete Wicks, they're so funny, and they're trying to stay relevant in their industry, where it's just so funny. They think they are has-beens, but they're very much still relevant. And I thought it was a great little spin-off twist to put this in the LORNA Experience podcast, because we know as entrepreneurs and digital marketers, to stay relevant is important. Staying relevant is hard because the digital world is changing every second. We've got Instagram broadcasts. In the last few months, we've had Instagram threads come up. We've got Instagram broadcast. I was 4 months away from Cardiff, and then I've come back and everybody's like AI, virtual reality, everything. And I'm just like, okay, people have been working, yeah, right? So when this comes to staying relevant, this is what I'm talking about. What am I focusing on? How am I keeping myself relevant in this marketing industry and entrepreneurial industry? Because it is very competitive, but I always feel like there's opportunity for everybody. So I have been doing the most. Okay, so we're just going to touch on a few points. Like Sean Cannell, Gary Vee, and Stephen Bartlett was the three key individuals that I was always watching. More Sean Cannell and Gary Vee, but they both, Stephen Bartlett and Sean Cannell, their inspiration is Gary Vaynerchuk. And Like, these people know how to grind, okay? And if you listen to, I think Gary Vee was saying in one of his shows, so I've been obsessively watching Gary Vaynerchuk's YouTube channel, to be honest. You should check it out, all his latest videos. How he makes content is he does loads of talks, and then he does like behind before he does a talk, he does a Q&A with his Gary V friends, I should say, and then he records that and uploads it as content. And also he does his talk shows, any interviews, that's his content. He doesn't record content at all. That's how he produces content, which is pretty kiff. So he said in one of the interviews, he was saying, oh, I was doing my wine business. I was actually working until like midnight, and then from midnight to 4 o'clock in the morning, I was tweeting all the time. And I was like, what? That's insane. Stephen Bartlett's got the same approach, same as Sean Cannell. They, like, I think Sean Cannell just said, I just watched something, and he says he's pumping out content, 328 pieces a week. What? Across all his platforms. So like, if you look at the industry, and this is how you think about, are you doing enough in business? Can you do more? You know what I mean? And then I go, no, I'm not even doing 10% of what they're doing. And what I love watching Gary Vee's videos is that there's loads of youngsters that say, oh, but I'm 25 and I've been doing this. And he's like, how long have you been doing this? You're young, try 10 years in the experience. It's all about the journey, the grind. And I agree. My YouTube channel for Miss Kef. So before, I was only getting like under 100 views, and I was pumping out content like once to twice a week. Now I'm doing it twice a week, long form content on my Miss Kef. And one of the videos actually got the algorithm, and it got 2,500 views, where I wasn't making even 100 before, but now I've got like average of 200. Before it was like 200 to 400. So for me, when you stop producing content, you drop with the algorithm. But when you do anything with content, it's about the long haul game. It's not about short-term gain, it's long haul. So if you're not interested in long haul, then this is not the industry for you, right? Then you shouldn't be doing this. And digital marketing and content creation isn't for you. It's for someone else. So for me, just knowing these little, knowing that you should just keep consistent to keep grinding forward, for me, brings me back to reality. Because when you're feeling unmotivated, you go, can't be bothered now. I'm just over it. And at that stage, it's not about being over it. It's about what can you do to optimize your time to make this a little bit more enjoyable, right? And that comes down to everything that I'm content creating now. It's about optimizing. This book has like each one of my brands. Every time I come up with an idea or some type of strategy, I put it in the book, and it just keeps everything organized. With the LORNA Experience podcast, I actually write down any notes that I want to discuss, because like I said, I spend all my time researching. I just love it. The YouTube video is called Scared to Get into Content Creation ? And the question was how to provide more value to your audiences. So I really, really loved his answer with this. He said that the best way is, if you're creating the content, which is very much how much you can get out of it, you're doing it for the wrong reason. It's all like, this is where it comes back to my digital transformation aspect, is like, how can you provide more value? Okay. So are you going into that post as like, oh, can I get a follow? Like, when I do this post, how many followers am I going to get? How many views am I going to get? Or is your mindset going into, how much value is this adding to my audience? how many people am I going to help when I post that video or that reel? Am I getting it out of my gain? Is that my mindset, or is the mindset of others? And I love this, because if you start putting yourself in the shoes of your customer and the person you want to attract, you become more selfless rather than selfish. And that is the difference between creating a tribe and community versus hard sale tactic. And sometimes this is very difficult to translate, because we come from a generation of many different generations of people with hard sale. And for me, one of my strategic approaches for me that really grounded me, and I was just like, I love it. But also it put me in check, because I'm super analytical, and sometimes you do think, oh, I need a sale. But it keeps you humble, right? It keeps you down to earth. So that's in my strategy for my next 3 months, is I've actually put on every month on my quarter 4 is how much more value am I providing? Because I'm building my brand, right? At the moment, I'm gaining your trust. So how much more value am I adding? I have the Diary of a CEO, the 33 Laws of Business and Life. Can we just, okay? So a little bit of context firstly. If you are in this entrepreneurial and like digital marketing, if you don't know who Stephen Bartlett is, you need to know him. Because, oh my goodness, I've been watching Stephen Bartlett since his vlog days. Because even I remember watching Stephen back in the day, he had too much ego. Okay, he had far too much ego, but I really liked where he was coming from and his approach. So I was always curious, and I loved his vlogs because he would be working constantly. Stephen Bartlett launched a book, I think something sexy billionaire or whatever. I didn't buy it. I saw it in the bookshop. I was tempted. It was an offer. I didn't buy it because I was like, this isn't the book to buy. I remember I listened to Diary of the CEO in 2021, and I actually started to record my own Diary of an Entrepreneur. That's what I called it myself. And this was just to like kind of give behind the scenes of what it really like. This is the reality of it. So I feel like the LORNA experience was always in the making. It just took that evolution of 2 years to get here. I've been, honestly, the Diary of the CEO podcast is amazing. It's quite like intense to watch. So I don't tend to watch all the episodes, but I do watch a selective few when I want to get like that deep inspiration, and it's just nice to learn from others. He launched Behind the Diary, which is his vlog is back. Like his vlog is back. The OGs, if you're a freaking Stephen Bartlett OG, you would know. And I was like, this is not just epic that the fact that he's launched the vlog again. What's even better is that he has the sickest edits. Like the production is so good. I think when you want a hashtag, you want that is like my goals, to get to a certain point where I could be that epic. And it's just so cool how he has the behind the scenes, that he flies to America, builds the setup. It's just next level for me. And what I really loved is that he was very much hands-on as the creative director. And for me, that's what impresses me a lot, is that he's really impressive, So to know his grind, number one, I've seen it because he's incredible like that. He's changed from ego to humble. But I know that Stephen and my, like, how how I would say is like I'm more spiritual and he's very practical, scientific based. And that's why this book has come with all the scientific interviews and data and everything he's collected. He's developed this 33 laws of business and life and his experience, which for me, I love reading people that aren't like me because it gives me another level of perspective, right? And to see, because obviously I'm more ideologies and beliefs and values, where he's more scientific based, which is true. But he landed up having, I think I saw this on his YouTube community page. It wasn't even that long. So this is what was really cool. I bought this book through a private webinar launch event for the book. And I actually took notes that I wanted to discuss on the podcast, but I landed up losing those notes for some reason. One of the laws that he has is these 5 pots, which is knowledge, skills, network, resources, and brand reputation. And I love this law. And the reason why I love this law is when I came to my masters, I knew I had the skills. So the first 2 laws are important, like your first 2 buckets are important, which is your skills and your knowledge, right? With that, you can actually build a network. So for me, I had the skills, I had the network, I was on the hunt for knowledge and resources to improve my brand reputation. So I really resonated with this law, and I came to Wales for that. So I had my skills, my 10 years awesome skills. I got my knowledge through my masters and cohorts. And then through my network, which is my knowledge network of the university, I found my resources. And now I'm working on my brand reputation slowly but surely. And I just love that. So it's funny because you've got power. Like before, I always thought to myself about this masters, like, is it worth it? For me, it was, because it just gave me the missing gaps that I was needing and the confidence. So yeah, I am still reading this book. I think it's so cool. And I just love it. What's really great as well is that so when you went to this webinar, you got the book, and I got this book delivered to the campsite, and I'm a massive fan. If you want this book, link in the description. But also, what I would recommend is you go to the Diary of the CEO, become a follower, and look at their broadcast, because their broadcast has really, really behind the scenes extra value. And Instagram broadcast we have to talk about at some point, but not in today's episode. That's what I mean. I've got so much to talk about. I've been reading and developing. I've been watching Gary Vee's videos, and I've been listening to Think Media's podcast for my development. So the last thing is how I've stayed relevant in marketing and entrepreneurship is events. So I came back to Cardiff, and they had this creative collective launch, and I love these events because I come in with a very analytical mind. How is the launch? What did they do good? What did they not do good? How can I have optimized it? How could they have improved it? You talk to people, you go, what did you think of the event? How would you change the event? I really love that. And firstly, to get into the BBC Wales building, number one, I was like, that's like the closest I've gotten into a BBC building, except for when I auditioned for a program once. But this one is pretty cool because they're just gonna have so many different events, and that's like so much magic there, so I was fangirling for a second. I walked away going, oh, the next time you see me, I'll have my own production show. So funny. But you got a dream, so you never know what can happen. manifestation and all that. And I love it because this event is actually really special to my heart, to be honest, because I actually have a video that I recorded in 2021 going, we need to do more for the creative industry. We need to do more. I feel like I'm just on this soul mission. That's what brought me to Cardiff, was a gut feeling of, that's the last place I'm going to start, last place I'm going to focus in my business career, to focus on what exactly can I help to provide change in the creative industry. Wow, 2 years later, the founder of Town Square, Gareth, shout out to you, Gareth Jones, he actually is working with Media Kumri to develop this project, and that is bringing people together with collective knowledge. Brilliant. I'm just so happy that this is starting to form. And that's why I said Cardiff is the place to be right now. If you are in this space, there's so much talent here. It's unreal. And what I like is it's not your success here is a lot more than what you can do in London, because London is very competitive. Oh my goodness, it's to the point where I couldn't go back to London. I just love being a change in the little ecosystem of Wales. It's just awesome to be a part of it. So yes, there's just, what was also really cool is meeting Gareth, is that he was so down to earth. I think as a founder, especially of such big like development, there was a quite cool link, because I went to a networking event in Newport, and I met someone who is working with them, and they told me about how they're developing a co-working space in Tunbridge Wells. And I was like, that's so cool. I can't wait, because I was there and I went to Office Tribe, and I just think it's great how there is, like, I'm obsessed with co-working spaces. And then it kind of went full circle, and that was end of July. We are now September, and less than 2 months, I met the founder. Like, can we just, that was just insane, man. I was just like living my best business life on Tuesday night, because it just was like that full circle. I love full circles, you know. And he founded Welsh Ice, which is the first cohort, the 5 to 9 was from female founders. Shout out to Hope. That was in Caerphilly, and he founded that, and I was like, what? Like, this guy is epic. I need to know more. So yeah, it's just awesome to meet such great people that's providing change in society. For me, I'm all about that. And meeting, like, if you want to develop a business that really drives on community change, come to Cardiff, come to Wales. Like, the people here are just super incredible. And that's one of the reasons why I also wanted to start this podcast, because I was like, I need you to meet these incredible people. They are freaking awesome. They are so cool. So yes, that concludes this episode 2. I do have another bit that I wanted to add in, but this conversation is far too long. I hope you found value in today's sessions. I've been to the studio network here this week as well. There's been great conversations which I wanted to talk about. And then just being in the studio, I was sitting at my desk. I was really wanting to optimize my, I'm very much focused on how can I optimize my productivity as well. So it's a must as a marketer to also know AI, at least start practicing the tools. And I was sitting at my desk, and then boom, who walks in? Hey, are you interested in workshops about AI? I was like, yeah. So we're going to talk more about that, more about that in episode future. But there is so much, like I said to you, when I've come through the door here in Cardiff, back again, I've been away for 4 months, and it's just been like 1, 2, 3, 4, like go, 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 go. So just the Lorna Experience podcast has come at a perfect time, and I am super grateful to be back in the HQ, and it's just incredible. So I hope you found value in today's episode, and I will link the show notes as well with this. And I hope as well the reason why I've launched this on a Sunday is that you can then start to think about how you can be productive this week, about how can you learn, how can you optimize your time and your productivity, what do you need to stay resilient in to keep going, and what do you need to do in order to be resilient, right? If you need to listen to a podcast, if you need to take a break, whatever you need to do it, and nurture your concepts. Like, keep refining, and just accept we all are here. Like, this is my present moment. Am I happy with it? Yeah, definitely. Is there room for improvement? Definitely. But we just accept where we are, and that's what's important, right? If you found value, please remember to comment on this YouTube channel or leave a review on Spotify. Please do subscribe and follow, because it really helps me out. And check out Instagram, which is the Lorna Experience podcast, for little video clips as well, which we'll be showcasing this week. Really excited. Have a good week. Keep thriving.